Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video today, and this is something that I'm really excited to do as a Texans fan, and I think this is something that, can talk about while we wait and, while as other Texans fans like me wait and to see what the Texans do with their head coach position. And because we have a little bit to wait, April 27th in Kansas City is the NFL draft, 2023 NFL draft. So I think we got some time here. A little bit, about a little bit over 3 months. I mean, it's almost January 10th, so about 3 months and 3 weeks. So yeah, the draft's a while back, and I'm gonna be doing my Texans mock draft 1.0 as the Houston Texans. Now we know what the Houston Texans will be, where they are picking in the first round, with their pick, their pick, and then their pick from the Browns. And I'm only going to be doing the 2 first-round picks, because, those other picks, all the picks from second round to 7, we have no idea where the spots will be. I have a feeling I know where the second round pick will be. Should be one of the first picks of the draft, either the first or second. Should be the 34th pick of the draft. I'm not going to assume anything yet, so we'll wait until the NFL announces, all the picks from the second round to 7th round. So I will do a full mock draft whenever that happens. But for now, we're only going to be talking about the second overall pick that the Houston Texans have and the 12th. So getting started with my first Houston Texans mock draft. I'm going to be going with the second overall pick. I think the Houston Texans select Bryce Young. I think it's the fit that the Houston Texans need. I think it is. I think Bryce Young is their guy. I think C.J. Stroud is an excellent quarterback. I really do think that Bryce Young fits with the Houston Texans. I think that ultimately, I know there's rumors about Laremy Tunsil being traded, but I think that ultimately, I think the Texans do end up re-signing Laremy Tunsil to, protect our young quarterback and Bryce Young. I think that I think Bryce Young needs some protection going into his first couple years in the NFL, and obviously would need some more O-line besides Laremy Tunsil, so the O-line doesn't improve. I think Kenyon Green, if Kenyon Green can make some adjustments next year, maybe he can get better, because, me personally thinking Kenyon Green in his first, just like out of what I saw of Kenyon Green in his first season, for the 15th overall pick and the best O-lineman, or one of the best O-linemen available in that draft class, second or third best available O-lineman in that draft class. I think he was the third because he had Evan O'Neal and some other guy that went to the Panthers. So the third best O-lineman available in that draft class. He's not been good, so hopefully he makes some changes next year to maybe Texans add in another guy or two for this O-line to protect Bryce Young. But I do think the Texans do draft Bryce Young. And then getting to that 12th overall pick with a quarterback, what do you need? Here's a simple answer: a wide receiver. It's no disrespect to the Texans' current wide receivers, but we're not in the position. Bryce Young will not succeed with the current wide receiver group we have. I love Brandon Cooks, but the rumors is I think he just said that he does not want to sit for a rebuild, so he will be traded this offseason. So that's another thing. That's another reason why I'm not going to do a full mock draft, because I think eventually, by the time I do a full mock draft, I think the Texans should have some more picks. Texans currently have 11 more picks. I wouldn't be surprised when the draft starts. I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans have like 12 or 13 if Brandon Cooks gets traded or Laremy Tunsil gets traded too. So personally, I think that that's another reason why I'm not doing a mock draft right now. But if Brandon Cooks is gone, the Texans do not have a good wide receiver group. I like Nico Collins. I think Nico Collins is a good wide receiver. He is not a number one. I really do like John Mechie as well. I don't I'm not saying John Mechie cannot be a number one because I do think he could. I think John Mechie, if he returns from, IR because he has leukemia, which I know he's doing way better, but I don't know his status for next season. So what I will say is I think John Mechie would be a great wide receiver for Bryce Young. Played with each other in Alabama, have some chemistry, so that's why I would like that fit. But still, I still think the Texans need another wide receiver. And, I think that the free agency class this year with wide receivers is not that talented. I could see a couple wide receivers, maybe potential for Houston, but not at number one for the Houston Texans. So not a lot of other wide receivers on the trade market as well. Michael Thomas, a couple other guys, none I see the Texans trading for. The factor is you got to draft a wide receiver. And I think that starts with 12. Usually, you draft a wide receiver in the rounds of 2 to 4 or even later with 5 or 6. And, usually a wide receiver in those rounds work out. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do. Usually they do. If you're wondering, why don't the Texans just do that? Draft a wide receiver in the 3rd or 4th round again. And here's why, in my opinion. I just personally think that the Texans, they've done that the last 2 years with John Mechie and Nico Collins. I think it's time for a good wide receiver to come to Houston. And I'm not saying Nico Collins or John Mechie's not good. John Mechie's never touched the field. I think John Mechie's going to be great. I just think the Texans need to add in number one. I think Quentin Johnson, who I think the Texans should select with that 12th overall pick and who is playing in the national championship right now, would be a great fit for the Houston Texans. And that is why I think the Houston Texans should draft Quentin Johnson. He's great on the deep ball, something that Bryce Young should be throwing a lot. Something I don't know if I trust Nico Collins with, which I'm not saying I don't trust Nico Collins with like a deep down touchdown strike. I don't know if I trust Nico Collins with that. It's not something he's done a lot in his career. John Mechie, I think he's a good deep wide receiver, but Quentin Johnson's a really good down the field wide receiver. Could be a deep game for the Houston Texans. Quentin Johnson would be a great fit for the Houston Texans. And, I wouldn't throw out the possibility of the Texans drafting another wide receiver in this draft. The Texans have 4 draft picks in the 6th round. So 6th round could be a target for another wide receiver for the Texans. Not saying that that's going to be the only one, but I could see the Texans drafting 2 wide receivers in this draft. I could see the Texans drafting with 12 Quentin Johnson and then drafting another wide receiver in the 6th round. I think that could be a potential target for the Texans. Texans have 4 draft picks in the 6th round. I think that wide receiver could be one of those targets in the 1st round, and in that 6th round, other targets could be maybe D-line, maybe another tight end. I don't think another tight end though. And I don't really know. I think we got a lot. I think we got a lot of time to think about the 6th round. But I was just throwing out maybe another potential wide receiver coming in. It's no disrespect to the current guys we got in there at that wide receiver group, but I think the Texans need for sure number one. And I think they can get that with Quentin Johnson. I like Jordan Addison too, but I think Quentin Johnson would be the best fit for the Houston Texans. He stays in the state of Texas. Just goes a little bit. He goes from Fort Worth to Houston, not that far though, and stays in Texas and gets to play with one of the best quarterbacks from college football this year. I think Bryce Young and Quentin Johnson would work well. I think Bryce Young would have a good relationship with his wide receivers. I don't know about Nico Collins. Nico Collins played for Michigan, right? Michigan, maybe, I think. But what I will tell you is Bryce Young played with Mechie. I think Quentin Johnson and Bryce Young would work well together, so that means Bryce Young is comfortable with his wide receivers. Hopefully the Texans could get John Mechie back next season. I don't know. I'll check in his status. But I think next year could look better for the Texans, but we have to see where this goes. And it starts with drafting these 2 guys in the 1st round for the Houston Texans. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts, and let me know what you guys think the Houston Texans should do with these number 2 and 12th overall draft picks in the 1st round. If you think different or you think the same, tell me why. give me comments down below. And that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys enjoyed the national championship, and peace out. Go Texans.